Well, on this segment of Unapologetically Queer, we have a super interesting TikTok star and influencer, and very happy to introduce you to Louis Levanti. And Louis, thank you very much for being with us here at Queer News Tonight.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to chat.
You're a fascinating personality to me, because I think you've said a few times in some of your TikToks, okay, boomer. All right, so this is the opportunity for you to say directly to my face, okay, boomer, and me be able to talk to that Gen Z millennial cusper that I've heard so much about. Seriously, a pleasure you joining us today.
Thanks for having me. And it's a time and a place type of thing. There's certain times I can use it, not always necessary.
Yes. Well, it might be today. I'm not letting that off the hook. I might throw a few jabs, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. First off, I want to talk about your experience. Now, you're in Los Angeles, and I'm here in South Florida, in Fort Lauderdale. We always joke that we broadcast from the gayest place on planet Earth. One of the places that rivals us is where you're sitting in South Florida. So let me get that off the table right away. Lots and lots of people have said, oh my gosh, you're going to talk to Louis Levanti. Where's the better gay community? Is it yours or ours?
Definitely ours. I think there's a little bit of a personal tie to it for me, just because moving to LA, I felt super comfortable being who I am. I wasn't actually out when I first moved here, and coming here, I met a group of gays, my entire friend group, and they just gave me the space to be comfortable and be myself. And I think that's why I really do cherish, LA, but West Hollywood in general too, with all my friends going there. So I think we do have a better space.
You have a better space. Well, have you been to Wilton Manors by chance?
I have not.
Louis, here's the invitation right now on behalf of the queer community in South Florida. You got to come to South Florida. We'll help host you, make some arrangements for you to do some of the content that you create. In Wilton Manors, we have an all-gay city commission. Our mayor is gay. Our major city mayor is gay. We have a sheriff who's maybe gay, and we have about 2 miles in Wilton Manors that is like Santa Monica in West Hollywood, except it's all gay. All the bars, all the restaurants, all the stores, the shopping center, the Publix is gay. So I don't know. I think we might be able to go toe to toe with y'all. But you got to come and you'll be the arbitrator and the decision maker of which community is gay. I read that you went to Ithaca and you went out to Los Angeles, and that's what got you in to the LA community. One of the things that was fascinating to me that I know our audience, and especially your Uber fans, getting to talk to you this way, as you primp, by the way, I loved that. And I'm going to catch everything, Louis. I'm just telling you. One of the things that your fans are really going to love is to be able to talk to you and hear you, which is a little bit different than your content creation. A lot of people are surprised and will be surprised to say, wait, you're this young guy in college and school, and you've come out to Los Angeles, and that gave you the impetus to come out. What was that all about? Why? I've heard every Gen Zer just screaming to come out. 25% of all Gen Zers are saying we're queer. What was it with you? What was the hesitation?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Long Island, New York, which is not, I guess I would say it is a little more reserved, more conservative. I definitely never, now being out and meeting all of these people in the community, I never really saw that there. So I don't think I ever was able to experience it and figure myself out. So when I then went to Ithaca College, it was a clean slate for me where I didn't know anybody, nobody knew me. I got to experience life so differently as every college student can and should. And from there, I just started to do like experimenting. I started to talk to people. I heard other people's experiences. And then as time went on, I was a senior now in college. I had slowly started to figure myself out. And when I came out to LA for the semester that I was here, I just realized that there was so much more in the world than just the little bubble that I was in New York. So fast forward to now, it was 2021 when I moved to LA. I knew after everything I had been through that it was time. I was like, I'm wasting my time not being my fullest self, not figuring myself out. And when I came here, I got to meet so many people it was funny because it was in West Hollywood where I first went out and was like, wait, I know who I am and I need to be that person, not only for myself, but I feel like I wanted to be a role model for other people who are watching me. So that just led to me being like my freest self, led to me meeting some of my best friends who are in the community. And then I eventually met my boyfriend, which would have never happened if I had never moved here and came out.
Yeah. And Louis, I'm curious to people that people are listening to you right now in your decision making. Do you regret not coming out sooner?
I don't ever want to say I regret it. I do, as someone who is I want to use my time to my fullest and make sure that I'm always doing right by myself. I do feel like time was wasted, where I wish I could have found myself a little bit sooner. But again, I always live by the motto that everybody has their own path in life. It doesn't matter how long it takes you to get to your end goal, as long as you get there. And I think that's where I feel like I had known myself in college, but it took me leaving home, leaving everything I knew, and just immersing myself in something that I wasn't sure of to figure it out. And I think that's something I encourage a lot of people to do, is that even if it's not just like coming out, if it's a career or if it's a hobby, like immerse yourself in it, because you won't know something until you try. And I think that's where I don't regret it, because I needed to take the time.
Louis, after your experience of coming out in the way you did, thinking about it in Long Island, and then when you're in Los Angeles, any recommendation to Gen Zers, what you think that they might think if they haven't come out or they don't want to come out? Any recommendations you would make from your seat?
It's really hard. I've had this conversation with a lot of people. It's hard to recommend something because everybody has their own unique situation. I was super fortunate when I chose to come out that I knew exactly who I was going to tell first. I knew what order I was going to tell my family. I went my brothers, then my mom, then my dad. And I just knew in my head, like it was almost like a strategy. I was like, who can I knock out first? Whatever. I was very fortunate that they were so accepting. Now, not everybody can say that. I think something that I preach a lot about on my platform is that you need to be happy first. You need to take care of yourself first, and you can't worry about what other people are thinking. And that's back to the point of wasting time. I feel like if you know who you are, that's the most important thing. Now, when I first was out here, I didn't have to come out to any of the people I had met out here. They kind of just assumed, and it was the first time when people assumed about me, I wasn't upset. It confirmed to me that I was also right. And for other people who are watching, you can't really care what other people think about you. And I know that's a really easy thing to say and hard thing to do, but it takes time. And I think you need to remember that you are the most important, especially during right now. I think it's National Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yes.
You need to put yourself first.
Yeah.
So always putting yourself first.
Yeah, it's a beautiful a statement. I'm sitting here listening to you talk, and I feel like, wow, I'm watching the living embodiment of a movie where the gay kid's going to get on the Ferris wheel at the end of the movie. So it honestly is very cute. You interned. I was reading. You interned in Good Morning America and Live with Kelly and Ryan at Viacom, which is now Paramount. Those experiences for you in terms of the internship didn't necessarily lead to the content production or content interests that you do now. But tell me about the importance of the internships and was the intern program at Good Morning America, Live, etc. Were those good experiences for you?
They were all phenomenal experiences. So when I went to college, I went to a school that had a huge television digital production program, but I came from a high school where I knew none of that. all I had ever known about TV was how to watch it. So I was already I was at such a disadvantage to all these other people who had like TV programs in their school. Their parents were directors. And I was like, I know nothing. I don't even know how to coil a cable. So I made it such a point to work so hard in those classes and to make connections. And then I use those connections to get Live with Kelly and Ryan and Good Morning America. And through those, I learned that a lot of the stuff you do learn is on the job, but I also got to experience professionals in such a great setting. I still talk to some of them today via email, via LinkedIn, and I really do feel like knowing what I know now, those were so crucial in developing me as a professional. And honestly, it in a way helped me grow up a little bit faster because they weren't just like internships getting coffee. I was very fortunate where I was doing hands-on production. I was working with celebrities. I was talking to producers every single day and pitching stories. So I really do think internships are super crucial to help you develop as a person and also as a professional in the field.
When you started, after you come to Los Angeles and you start your content creation and development, did you start in TikTok or where did you start?
So I actually started in YouTube, funny enough. So the January before the pandemic hit, I was having a little bit of I was confused on what I actually wanted to do because I had been working out what was Viacom at the time as a coordinator for the international team in the digital space. And I was like, this is great and it's making me a paycheck, but I'm not loving my monotony of my day to day. So what can I do to change it up? And what that was I was going to make YouTube videos every single week so that I had something creative to do for myself. As I was doing that, I was also doing TikToks around the office with the MTV European Music Awards team. And they would have me just slot in and do these goofy little dances or whatever. And I think it really was helping me break out of my shell that when the pandemic actually hit and I was indefinitely home from work, I started to use all my knowledge of the pop culture space, celebrities, but also the comedic side of Comedy Central, which is one of the brands I worked for, to establish myself on TikTok doing celebrity roasts in a very lighthearted way. I wasn't actually insulting them. And I started to blow up on TikTok. And ever since, I think I've posted every single day since the pandemic started.
You have posted on TikTok every single day since pandemic started. That's what I just heard you say?
Yeah, so I would post every single day. I've posted sometimes 2 times a day, 3 times a day. I sometimes now take a little bit of a break because people are like, you need to calm down. You don't have to post all the time. But again, it's so fun for me and so easy for me to just pick up a phone and talk, where I know that's not the case for everybody. But for me, I'm like, I'm not forcing myself to do this. I just want to, and I have fun doing it.
You know, it's funny, on the OK Boomer joke that I made at the top, one of my favorite products is Comedy Central's roast. I could tell you almost every single moment ever in the history of all of the Comedy Central roast. William Shatner riding in on the horse was an iconic moment, and our queer Sulu saying "Go fuck yourself" and the horse you rode in on is like one of the iconic moments of Comedy Central. I read that you started to focus on the roast mentality, and that one of your first views had like 5 million views overnight. Is that true?
Yeah, so my first ever video, I had posted other TikToks too that were just more of I was like everybody else. I was just using the filters, I was doing the trends, but I didn't actually understand it, that you could do these other things. Like you could use a green screen, you could talk and just make content. So I used a green screen it was called 5 Celebrities I Hate for No Reason at All, because I understood that I had a professional job, so I didn't want to actually roast people for the way they looked or things about them. So I made up roasts about, I think I did 2 celebrities a video. I did 1 character from a TV show that was like a real person, and then 2 cartoon characters, just to make it known that it was supposed to be funny. The first one that I ever posted, it got 5 million views in about a day and then got removed. So then I had to repost it, and then it got about 6 million the second time that I reposted it. Got taken down again, and then I appealed it, and it got put back up.
You know, and I want to talk about Elon Musk in a moment, but why did it get removed the first time? Did you ever get any explanation or understanding why it was removed?
It did say bullying and hate speech, and I had to write a long, long paragraph about how everything that I was stating was satirical and not like nothing was factual at all. It was all just like, I don't like this character because they did this in the show. It wasn't a real person or anything like that. And I think that once I appealed the first one, as I posted more of the series, they didn't get taken down. So I think it started to get like flagged that it was okay. But yeah, it was, I remember like stressing about it too. I'm like, oh, the one time something works for me, it gets taken down.
Yeah. Well, it must be working, Louis. I read that you've got more than 3 million followers, so it's working. Has that continued to be a problem for you of having content pulled down for various flagging reasons?
No, actually, knock on wood, if I can find some near me at some point. But I think my content has since changed since then. Like if you were to go watch me back when I started in the pandemic, I'm completely different now, and not different in a way where like my values or anything have changed. I just think I've evolved myself and my content to be other things. So I used to do only green screen videos about celebrities and pop culture. And I started to realize, am I doing this because I thoroughly enjoy it, or am I doing it because I know it works? And I've learned this rule where you do, no matter what, 80% of what you know works, and then 20% of what you actually want to do. So I've started to do more of what I want to do more so, such as like lifestyle content with my boyfriend, vlog style. And as I've incorporated that into my reactionary pop culture stuff, I've noticed that people want more from me, and it makes me happy because I want to give more of me, because there's so much more to me than just posting a green screen, roasting a celebrity. I want to like build safe spaces for the people watching me, because I felt like that's something I've always wanted for myself and never had. So now I want to be that person. And that's why I feel like I'm continuing to grow, because I'm allowing people to see more of me every single day.
You know, that's super interesting to me. Louis, do you worry about, first off, I read that 85 out of every 100 TikTok users in America are under 25 years old. Now, I don't vouch for that statistic, but I see it basically repeated frequently. Because it is such a young platform audience, do you worry about bullying in TikTok or the kind of issues that might go on in video, especially being queer and even in our queer community? Do you worry about the bullying issue in TikTok and other social media, or is it's not something that you see a whole lot of?
I definitely worry about it. I worry about it more so for other people. Because when I started on TikTok and I did those celebrity roasts, I welcomed discourse in my comment section. So a lot of the time I was getting insulted back by people in more of derogatory ways, just because they weren't understanding that I was joking, and, you know, that's on them. And I would clap back. So I feel like I have a bit of a thicker skin and I can take the heat, but I know there are so many people out there who cannot and don't deserve to have to take the heat. So I feel like as of lately, I am very worried for people, because there are people who are stuck in their ways, stuck in their mindsets, especially against the LGBTQ plus community. So that is why I also want to make my content very LGBTQ plus friendly. I know when I came out, I posted a video and I got so many DMs on Instagram, on TikTok, of people being like, you are allowing me to feel like I can be comfortable being who I am. You are like, people are like, oh, we knew, but it's nice to hear you say it and feel this way, because you are confident, you are strong, and you're a little like the roasts and stuff like that, I think help back that up, where it's like, oh, if he can do it and he can stand up against these people, so can I. So bullying is definitely a problem, and I hope I can show people that we can stand up to it and we don't have to deal with that.
You know, Louis, Queer News Tonight, we report nightly in Roku and Apple television at Queer News about all the terrible things that we are watching the GOP and evangelical community, et cetera, are doing. Is that something that you experience much of in terms of your social media, being an influencer, what you're doing in TikTok, and to a lesser extent YouTube? Is it something that you face, being queer and advocating in whatever way that you would advocate for LGBT? Is hate something that is a recurring concern for you of what's going on in America?
Yeah, I see it a lot so I obviously do, as an influencer, we do advertisements. And a lot of the time, those advertisements will get boosted on TikTok to whoever that brand wants whoever the brand wants to see it. And sometimes, if not most times, that are people who are against what I stand for. Mm-hmm. So my comment section is flooded with people who wouldn't normally see my videos, but because it is being promoted, I'll get a lot of homophobic comments. I'll get people making fun of me, making fun of my voice. If my boyfriend's in it, making fun of us as a couple. So I experience it a lot. And I think, as my parents always ask me, like, because they'll see this stuff, they're like, are you okay? And all the time I'm like, I'm perfectly fine. I am just biting my tongue because I know you can't fight fire with fire at this point, because these people are stuck in their ways, like I said. So it's definitely something I experience on that front of it. I think each platform too, because I'm across all of them, has their specific pockets of negativity. But if you welcome it, it will keep coming. I've learned if I respond to negative comments, I'm going to keep getting negative comments, because sometimes people are like, oh, that's how I can get a rise out of him, I'm going to comment. So I try to completely block it out. And I've seen success with that, where if I block it out, I don't see much of it.
You know, Louis, I'm also curious in terms of the whole phenomenon of being influencer, creating content in the way that you're doing. You know, I admire, to be honest with you, I admire what you represent in our LGBTQ community, and I congratulate you for it. But lots of people in my age group, in the boomer crowd, talk about this entire phenomenon of what is the point? Why is so much time being spent on this, and all of the rabbit holes that you can go down in TikTok, and somebody puts their head up 7 hours later and going, my goodness, where I've been. Well, what do you think about that observation, that of a segment of our community and the broad community that says, gosh, this seems like such a waste of time? What do you say to that?
I say to that I've experienced it with my own parents. So when I first started TikTok, they had that mentality. They just never understood what it was. They're like, what are you doing? Why are you constantly filming? We can hear you. Like, we don't get it. And as I started to talk to them more about it, I was like, it's no different than you guys sitting on the couch for hours watching a marathon of a show. You're just doing it on your phone now. And you're seeing people from all around the world learning new things, like learning cool cooking hacks, life hacks. I also just saw this really good video today of someone saying, you know, when you go to a museum and you see a piece of artwork that you don't understand, you could be one of three types of people. You could be someone who says, I don't understand that, and move on. You could be someone who says, I don't understand that, and then you actively try to understand it by reading into it, looking at the art piece a little bit more, and then understanding a little bit better why it's there. Or you could be a third person and you could say, I don't understand this, and I'm going to tear it apart as much as I can until it's gone. Yeah. And I think if you can determine what type of person you are, then I think that would answer a little bit of that question. But I think there's always room for understanding, and social media is something that is not going to go away. So you might as well start understanding it now.
You know, it's well said, to be honest with you. I have Gen Z friends that my boyfriend and I, when the new 10 or 12 episodes of The Great British Bake Off come out on Netflix, we power watch all 12 of them all in a single day. So how that is any different than TikTok, I don't think it probably is. One other thing about TikTok that is fascinating to me from your seat is all of the discussion that we're watching, you know, government bans of TikToks, the consideration of some bans by states of TikTok, and perhaps even a federal ban of TikTok. Where do you sit on that fence about what may be the eventual happen of TikTok? What do you think about it from your seat?
I've, growing up, always learned to never put all my eggs in one basket. So that is why I'm on YouTube, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, Snapchat. As a creator, I think that's super important. You can't just focus on one thing and hope that it'll stay, because we have no control. So obviously it is my second job, and it would hurt a lot for it to go away. But I have to understand and, you know that I've put the movements in place to make sure that I can still do this forever. I did make a video on TikTok saying, because obviously people were worried and were posting their other socials. So I made a video just saying, you can try and silence TikTok. You can try and silence creators who are on the app trying to spread information about what's going on, but they're not going to go away. We're going to keep going. We're going to be on other platforms. A new platform will emerge. And if that doesn't happen, what are you going to do? Get rid of TV? Because people will find a way to do it. So I know there's a lot of talks about like all social media being regulated. Obviously, I don't know. I just feel very strongly that it will stay. I don't know which platforms will stay, but we will always be here.
Yeah, and to that point, Louis, from your gosh, you are an expert on TikTok, and literally in terms of your content and the amount of interaction that you see in the brand, just like someone that is a financier or something else with the brand. In terms of TikTok, what do you think about this issue on China? Does it give you pause? Do you worry about China's involvement? Or do you think our speech rights trump every other issue?
I've had a lot of discussion around this because a lot of my friends follow me, they watch it, and they're like, what do you think? And I read into everything. I'm not super into politics, but my biggest thing was like, 100%, there is a security issue. There's security issues with a lot of the things we do, but I think there's so many other issues in the world that we're not even tackling that why is this the one that everybody's so focused on? I can't even open Twitter without seeing the amount of people who are dying at the hands of guns. I understand that, yes, maybe our security is being breached, but we're dying in our own country already, and you're not even handling that. So that's a big thing that I get upset about is like, yes, we might be being spied on, all of that stuff. I don't know definitely. I can't say definitely, but I can open up Twitter and see that people in my own country, sometimes in my own state, in my family state, in other places are dying, not because of TikTok, but because of something else that can be tackled, and it's not being tackled.
Understood. I watched Elon Musk on Bill Maher. I don't know if you watch Bill Maher, but it was an amazing interview, and Elon Musk clearly is one of the smartest people ever to have walked this planet. He basically says, no, it'll correct itself. All of the issues that we're talking about at Twitter are going to correct in much better. His joke was, well, how do you be a billionaire after purchasing Twitter? You can't. And he makes the joke of how much money he's losing, but he's stopped that bleeding, and it has returned to some degree of profitability. But basically, he's an uber free speechist, and he says, if you're going to believe in the First Amendment and the right to free speech, you have to be able to embrace the speech you hate. And I read that in a textbook in the fifth grade. What do you think about that free speech, and where do you sit on social media free speech in TikTok and other social media platforms?
Yeah, like you said, you have to welcome, I guess, like opposing beliefs and sometimes ignorance, because again, everybody is entitled to free speech. Like I said, I welcome discourse in my comment section because I'd be a hypocrite to say one thing and then not let people comment their opinions. Am I always pleased with their opinions? Absolutely not. But again, like you said, to your point, you can't sit here and say, I have free speech, but you can't because you have a differing opinion than me. But again, I think everybody's allowed to have their opinions, but you're also allowed to disagree. I think that's something we haven't understood a lot of the time. I think a lot of people on TikTok get really up in arms when there are differing opinions. It depends on the topic. I think there are some things where I'm like, if you are against LGBTQ plus rights, you are wrong. You can voice it, but I promise you, you are going to be met with a lot of discourse because as someone who's in the community, I'm against what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I think it comes from both sides where like there are people who are, far right, far left, who are all like, well, what I say matters most. But at the same time, you have to welcome the discourse and understand that you can be wrong.
Of the social media platforms, TikTok, Twitter, Meta, do you think YouTube is doing a particularly great job?
I want to say, like, if I had to pick a platform that I love all the platforms that I'm on. I think they all provide something different. I think TikTok does allow for a lot of information to be spread. There are times where there is disinformation being spread, but I think a lot of people, given what has gone on, there are more tools to combat the disinformation. Whether it's there's a video of someone blatantly lying, and I can go stitch that with facts and be like, you're wrong because you literally just completely ignored these articles, the research, etc. Whereas I think a lot of other platforms are more in the race for how can we beat TikTok. Whereas now TikTok is like, we are this social media superpower. We can work on correcting disinformation and hate and, protecting kids on the app. Whereas these other apps are now in a race to get more people to their apps rather than safely getting them there.
Yeah. I want to change the subject in a little bit of a different vein. When you have a TikTok that's watched by 5 million people and you have 3 million followers, it comes with some benefits. And I read something that you said about one of the best benefits is it's allowed you to interact as an influencer with events and celebrities that have been quite amazing for you. Tell us who the most interesting to you, the greatest celebrity moments that your being an influencer has allowed you the opportunity to interact with.
Yeah, so I also work for Paramount still. I work as a social producer for them, and I do a lot of entertainment and pop culture content, whether it be we're doing like a podcast. I get to go to a lot of press junkets. So I actually just did a press junket for the new Transformers movie, which was super exciting, super full circle, because I used to watch the old ones when they first came out. And I got to meet Liza Koshy, who is also a social media star, but now she's transcended social media. And when I met her, it just made me realize like why I'm doing what I'm doing, because she started out on Vine and now she's starring as one of the voices in the Transformers movie. And just talking to her, like, she was just so real and so bubbly and so nice and kind and just so grateful to be in that space, where it made me so happy and made me realize like, you are doing everything you need to do, keep going. And that just like melted me for a little bit, where I was like, I left in shock and in awe of her.
And at the other end of the spectrum, this has opened doors where you can meet celebrities that might have been heroes for you, etc. And you came away going, gosh, that was just a terrible experience. Any terrible experiences?
Oh, I have to think off the top of my head for that one. I think in terms of celebrities, I'm not going to name drop because I'm very grateful for the experience I got with this said person. But I think a lot of the time, obviously, people are working really hard to put on, whether it be shows, whether it to be a host, whether it to be at an event. And I think, yes, you get tired doing all of these things, but so does everybody else. And you kind of have to push through. And I think I experienced someone who was not pushing through being tired, and it came across as they didn't want to interact with me and a few other people. And it turned me off a little bit, but it also, in that same moment, I was like, well, I'm going to keep doing my job and get what I need, because then at the end of the day, no one can say anything that I fed into the negativity or anything like that. A lot of it, though, I want to say the bad experiences happen more on the influencer side. I do want to say that.
Meeting influencers that you ended up thinking not so highly of.
I think a lot of people can now grow followings and get famous very fast. And I think they don't know how to handle it. And as someone who had already been in the space talking to people, I know how to speak to people. I've worked in professional settings. A lot of these people have not. And I think it shows when you try to have a conversation with someone and they're trying to one-up you, they're just blatantly having an attitude with you, or they just showed zero interest in someone else. Whereas I take every opportunity as a networking opportunity, or even an opportunity to make a friend. And a lot of people don't see it the same way.
You know, it's interesting because it transitions into something that was fascinating to me. I've read a lot about you in preparing to get to meet you today. And one of the most interesting things that I read that was said was not said by you. it was said by your boyfriend. If accurate in terms of what I read, he said, in conjunction with some of the people met and events that he's been able to participate in with you, gosh, I'm glad you're not like that. First off, is that true? Did he say that?
He says it to me all the time, because I knew exactly what you were gonna say too, and it like whenever I hear it, it like I almost like tear up because it makes me really happy, just because I've always like prided myself on being. I want people to leave a conversation with me excited or happy, or that they remember me in a good way. And he was one of those people where when we first met, there was just like an instant connection, and he didn't even know I had a following or anything like that. And when he found out, he was like, I admire you. I feel like you push me and make me want to be better at what I do, just because you have such a good work ethic and you don't let being an influencer or being like a producer phase anybody or phase you. You're so genuine and so real. And I feel like I wish more people could be like that.
Yeah, well, from this baby boomer, please pass on to your boyfriend. Boy, he is a keeper for you, a keeper.
Yes, absolutely.
A keeper, right? I'm curious in terms of many here in South Florida interact with many, not to the degree of success that you've had in being an influencer, but I interact with many Louis types of young people that are desirous of your success and creatively want to be creatively significant. What kind of recommendations would you give to those voices that have experimented in it but haven't had much success or have not yet started? What kind of advice, recommendation would you give?
Well, if you haven't started, post the video. I always say that. I said it to my boyfriend because he wants to get into it. I'm like, you cannot say you want to do something and then not do it. You have to post. If you're making videos, post them. That's my first piece of recommendation. Can't think about what anybody else thinks. That person you knew back in high school is going to watch it, and who cares? You're probably never going to see them again. That's how I felt, and now look at me now. I also think something a lot of people are afraid to do is ask questions. I pride myself in not gatekeeping. So if somebody asks me how I edited a video, how I got an opportunity, how I got to do certain things, I will tell them. I'm not going to hide and be like, oh, I don't know, it just happened. No, I edit with this software. I do this to do that, just because I look at being a creator and an influencer as a network. And I think a lot of the times people are scared to ask the questions to help make themselves better. I say do a lot of research. If there's like a creator you really love and you want to emulate, watch them. Watch what they do. Watch, beginning to end. Don't blatantly copy, but find a way to be like, okay, they do this. How can I do that for myself? And lastly, have fun. If you're not having fun while doing it, then what's the point? The minute I stop having fun with whether it be a series that I'm filming or, if I'm going to a lot of events and I start to feel that they're a chore, I take a step back and reevaluate. I'm like, why am I not having fun anymore? What can I do to combat this? And then I move forward from there. I think it's all about just knowing yourself and being confident and asking the right questions and talking to the right people and just, have fun.
Being inquisitive and sharing is what I heard you say repeatedly and over there. Very, very interesting. I have two final questions, one short-term, one long-term. Short-term, Louis, as you know, you're sitting in the bubble of California. It's very different than the bubble of Texas, Tennessee, and especially Florida. We are now here a little over a year and a half away from a presidential election where the governor here in Florida is going to try to export his brand of policy to the rest of the country, including California. What's going to happen with Gen Zers like you, 26 influencers living in and successfully creating content in TikTok and in Twitter and in YouTube, etc. What are Gen Zers and those on the cusp of millennials? What can we expect, especially in the queer community, What do you think we're going to watch in the next year and a half in terms of are they going to come to the defense of our community in America, or do you think they're not going to show up?
I think we are going to show up more now than we ever have. I've already seen it, especially with even just the TikTok hearings of, it going away. The amount of people that showed up for that, but then used that platform to start talking about other things, whether it be like, everything that's going on with drag. I'm so confident, especially knowing myself, where I used to be someone who never really engaged in what was going on. I had my own beliefs and I acted on them. I would vote, do whatever I needed to do on my own personal end. But seeing as how I feel now and knowing that myself, I'm going to be talking more about these things to make sure that we are doing right by our country. I know for a fact there are hundreds, if not thousands, of other people like me who are going to do that and step up. I'm more confident now than ever. And if I'm wrong, then that's really sad, but I don't see myself being wrong.
Does what you're watching in Florida, drag queens, trans community, youth, book bans, don't say gay, does it make you angry? From your seat as such a major influencer, does it make you angry?
Yeah, because what I've always wanted, especially now being out, is like I've always wanted to feel safe being myself. And now seeing that other people can't be when I was just feeling like I was, it's just so sad. And like, yes, I'm angry, but I know that out of anger, I've had times where I'd be angry and like it never really contributes positively to a situation. So I think now more than ever, it's, taking this like stand and being like, okay, I need to, with 3 million people watching me, I need to make sure I'm heard, helping other people who don't have followings be heard. And yeah, it's definitely sad. It hurts. I have so many friends who post a lot about it too. And we're just like all on the same page of like, this needs to stop. And I'm not to say I'm excited. I'm hopeful for how we can now as a younger generation fight against all of this.
Your last sentence was what my next question was going to be. You're optimistic?
I'm optimistic. It seems grim now, but I feel like there's a lot of people out there who are younger, we are the future. We are going to make sure that, everything going on in the world isn't going to stay negative. Right now, it does seem bad. It seems, it seems horrible, but I just feel very, very hopeful for all the work that people are going to put in, that our future is going to be so much better. I feel like I always say life is like peaks and valleys. Like when you get to the top of a peak, you plummet to a valley. That means you're always going to come back up the peak. And I think right now we're in the valley, but it'll get us up to a peak soon, and that'll be all positive. And hopefully we can remain at that peak for a while.
Louis, that is so beautifully said. We started our conversation today about making the joke of some of your videos talking about OK Boomer. And one of the things that I always smile about, I love you and your community and what you represent. It's so much vibrancy. I always smile because when I get ageist jokes all the time, constantly, ageist jokes, ageism jokes. And comes from all angles, by the way. But when Gen Zers and millennial cusp do it, I always think to myself and smile. My crocodile teeth come out because I realize, wait, you just don't realize yet, you're going to get to my age one day. And you're going to face the exact same thing of the reality of the world. And then I smile because I always wonder, well, are they really smart or are they not really that smart? Because eventually they're going to face the exact same thing. For you and what you've done, and at 26, my goodness, what you have accomplished already. Where do you think it's going to be 20 years from now, 30 years from now? You move into a different perspective of life that you will have 20 years from now, 30 years from now. Social media going to be relevant, TikTok going to exist, Twitter still going to be fashionable, and Where do you think it's going to go, and how is it going to be with you interacting in it 20 years from now, 30 years from now?
Yeah, it's so crazy because I have, not only to the point of we're all getting older, so we're all going to experience it. My boyfriend's literally 24, and he'll be like, "Oh God, you're so old," mainly because I'm like, I just want to lay on the couch, and he's like, "Oh, you're such a grandpa," and I'm like, "Okay, you're going to get to that point too, where you just want to sit down and do nothing." In terms of social media, I think having not only my job with Paramount and then also my influencing job, I think there's a lot for me in the future for what I actually want to do. Because I love what I do now, but I think I have other passions that I think I could turn into something when, I'm going to say when social media is still around, because I don't ever see something like a YouTube going away, just because that's been around for so long. So in my wildest dreams and goals, I would love to just be traveling the world and turn that into my content. And I think my goal in the future is to one day do fully content when I feel comfortable and just experience, new places in the world, new types of people, different cultures, and just really like enjoy life. So I think the way I will interact with it in the future is just solely enjoying it. And then obviously there will be like, hey, it's still a job because I need to afford things, but I want it to be fully because I'm enjoying it. And I really hope that's a possibility.
Louis, it's been a pleasure meeting you today. As somebody, when you say you want to get out in the world and do what you're doing, you're talking to baby boomer, baby boomer, who's been to 147 countries. And so as a result, I cheer that for you at 26. When you get out there, literally, I probably have talked to somebody today that is on the path to change the world. Very exciting. It's been a pleasure meeting you, Louis Levanti. I'm following you. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm saying I'm following you because you're unapologetically queer. It's been a pleasure today, and thank you for taking the time to talk to us at Queer News Tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been great. I really appreciate everything.